Some of you have already opened your tax-free savings account with my favorite provider, which is dun, 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 dun. You all know that I really like EasyEquities. I am not a representative of EasyEquities. I am not promoting them. I just like companies that make sense. If a product or a service makes sense, I mean, you don't have to necessarily be paid by that service provider in order for you to spread the word about it being great, right? So I love EasyEquities, and the reason I love it is because of the fact that you have so much freedom to choose what you invest in. But I understand that freedom can cause anxiety when you don't know what to choose, or you're like, okay, what if I buy this and I lose my money? What if I make a mistake, right? Or I've told you about ETFs and what they are. I did like 2 videos about ETFs, and if you've watched them, you probably have an idea. But now you're like, okay, there are 78 ETFs on their platform. How do I choose one, right? So I understand that anxiety, and hence today I'm going to be talking about ETFs that I feel are like, you know what, they're the pap, they're the rice, they are the stump, they are the, you know, they are the staple. They're the ones that, you know what, if you have them in your tax-free savings account, growth will happen. They are diverse in that they are invested in different asset classes, and the word asset class essentially just means like different things. So is it invested in commodities, of which commodities is things like platinum, gold, da 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 da. Or is it invested in technology? Is it invested in agriculture? Is it like that's the different asset classes, right? And even on the EasyEquities ETF website, they even have a whole website for ETFs. They even like show you can filter using asset class, using different sort of categories that you can find on there. But these ETFs, for me, right, based on the research that I did, based on the reading that I did, this is what I feel one could add to their tax-free savings account if they have the ability to choose what their tax-free savings account is invested in, which is one of the things that really make the difference between you having a tax-free savings account and a tax-free investment account, right? Because you might have it with a certain provider, and then you can't even choose what you invested in. They choose for you, of which it might work for some people where you feel that I can't do this on my own. I need someone to hold my hand, or I need someone to choose for me. But at least read what it is that they investing your money in. But then there are those people like me that are willing to, you know, dip the foot in the deep end of the pool just to see, you know, but have a floaty on. And the floaty is essentially me reading, right? Reading and doing the research. And if, well, you watching my videos is you doing the research for yourself, then I think that's good enough, yeah? So let's look at the ETFs that I feel that if one invests in them, there could be some growth, right?
I'll be honest, when I started my tax-free investment account with EasyEquities, having moved it from Old Mutual, I didn't really know what I was doing. I didn't know how to choose ETFs, and you're going to see the mess that I made. But some of the mess that I made actually worked out, but I didn't have to have all these ETFs. I could have scaled it down to the 6 that I want to talk about today. But this is where we stand, and I started this particular tax-free investment account at the beginning of 2020, around March, yes, when the new tax year had begun, and I invested the full 36,000 that I'm allowed to invest every tax year, and this has been the growth on it thus far. This profit and loss percentage and this amount, the value of it, does change from time to time depending on how the investment performs. However, I must say I've always been in the green, and the lowest I've seen it at, I think, has been 11%, but it didn't stay there for long. But it's still way better than having had it with my previous provider, or probably with like a bank type of tax-free savings. Yeah. So let's have a look and scroll through my ETFs. Okay, so this particular ETF has not been performing well. What's nice about the EasyEquities website is that you are able to look at graphical information and see, okay, what happens here? So looking at the graph, like I just hit maximum. From the time that this ETF started, there had been growth. It's like now that they're seeing a decline, right? So the maximum return of it over time has been 41%. But right now, unfortunately, I'm in the red. But that does not mean I should disinvest. You never want to disinvest when it's in the red, because then you lose money, right? Because here it shows you the purchase value, which is what you actually bought it for, right? And then the current value. So I've made a loss, and how much it is per unit, right? Let's look at my One Invest SA bond ETF. That one has seen this amount of growth. It's been okay. It really has been okay. The Ashburton Global 1200 FOF ETF is one of the 6 that I want to talk about. So I would certainly stick to this one. The 6 that I want to talk about, I don't have all of them in my tax-free savings. And with the new tax season, not tax season, but with the new tax year coming up in March next year, I think that's when I'll invest in some of the ones that I haven't invested in. But essentially, when you're looking at the values, you can see, okay, this is the amount I invested, and this is what I now have, right? So that means here it even shows you what I made. So I made 149 from this investment. On this one, I've made 266. Going forth, it's showing you how much I've made based on the growth, yeah? Based on the growth, and how much I've lost based on the loss of the particular investment or the particular fund. The top 40 is also one of the 6 that I want to talk about, and there are a few providers that provide, yes, that's correct to say, that provide the top 40, Ashburton being one of them, Satrix being another. But remember, I showed you guys how to compare ETFs if there's more than one provider that provides a particular ETF, and seeing which one is cheaper to buy, right? So the other one, so you see, I didn't know what I was doing. I have the Ashburton top 40 here, and I also have the Satrix top 40. I like the Satrix one. It's the cheapest one. But why was I buying both of them? I don't know what I was doing. Like I said, I was just doing this blindly. I was just doing it on my own. I didn't really know better. But at least it didn't really work to a disadvantage, because I'm mostly in the green. Yeah. But anyway, the other one that I want to talk about is the MSI World ETF. And thank goodness I was able to buy that one with my blind knowledge. And yeah, this is how much it has made me so far. And I put in 3,000. And also, like, when you're allocating funds, it's up to you. It's up to you what amount you want to give each ETF. If you want to give them all the same amount, then go for it. But I think when I was looking at the compare page in my blind days, I selected those that I saw were performing better, and I allocated more money to those. So at least I knew something. And then the other one is the Signia 4th Industrial Revolution Global ETF. This is another one that I do want to talk about. that you guys can look into investing in. And I think it's my top performing one. Like, it's like at the bottom of the list, but I think it's my top performing one. And it doesn't have the most money. I only put in 4,000 something. I'll definitely top it up when I'm able to put more money into this tax-free savings account. Well, my tax-free investment account, because it's invested in something. But I can't do that now because I have already exceeded my limit that I can put in of 36,000. And from that 36,000, this is how much I've made so far. This value has been higher. It can go lower, but trust me, it is way better than just having a bank tax-free savings account that is not invested in any ETFs or unit trusts or anything of the sort, of which ETFs still do better than unit trusts. Yeah, let's head on to talking about the 6. I'm recording this on a different day, hence the values have changed, and I've seen more growth today. This is Monday, like a few days later. Anyway, so hey guys, let's laugh together. So I had invested in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 ETFs all together. And I'm saying you don't have to do that. Let's scale it down to 7. And probably this growth would have been way higher if I'd eliminated some of these other ones, and focused on, the ones that are just working magic. Let's have a look. So if I were to turn back, the wheels of time, the heads of time, whatever, I would have chosen these ETFs. I would have chosen the Satrix MSI World ETF, which I did actually. I did invest in it, but I probably would have been able to put more money into it if I didn't have like a whole bunch of them, 16, right? The Satrix Top 40, I already have that one, so yay. The Satrix Property ETF, I don't think I had that one in the list of the ones that I had. The Signia Global Property ETF, the Ashburton 1200 FOF ETF, which I think I do have, which is great. So from the 7 that I'm speaking of, I've already counted 3 that I've invested in, but I would have had more money to invest in them had I not had a whole 17 or 16. The Sygnia 4th Industrial Revolution Global ETF. I can't forget this one because this was the one that had the highest value, the top performing one from the list of the ones that I had. The Satrix Nasdaq 100, of which I did have this one too. Yes, so it seems that from these 7, I had 5 of them, except for the Signia Global Property one and the Satrix Property ETF. So I wasn't that blind after all, but having had so many meant that I really just distributed my money all over the place, whereas I could have been distributing that 36,000 between these 7. So now how did I come to decide that I would invest in these 7 instead if I could turn back time and probably in the next tax year when I'm able to invest another 36,000, of which maybe the list might change with 1 or 2 of them, but I think I'm solid with these 7. Yeah. Most of my knowledge on ETFs really comes from the EasyEquities ETF website. It's literally a website dedicated to teaching you about ETFs. and it's just fantastic. So, for example, as soon as you log on, you scroll down, it even shows you the top performing ETFs at the moment. But remember that these values don't necessarily speak truth to the fact that is this the best ETF to buy? And I sort of used this at first. I was like, okay, if it's top performing now, then yeah, certainly is the one to buy. But look at my favorite one, the Sygnia Itrix 4th Industrial Revolution one. I mean, week after week, it's just like performing so well. So had I focused most of my money here, any other one that I spoke about from the 7 that's listed here? Well, no. But okay, the most popular ETFs on EasyEquities, the Satrix Top 40. So that means that a lot of people on EasyEquities are buying the Satrix Top 40. And you saw that I made a mistake. I bought one from Satrix and one from Ashburton. Like, that was unnecessary. And you can see others that are quite popular. I also have this one, the Satrix Nasdaq 1100 feeder. I also have this one, the Satrix MSCI Emerging Markets ETF. This one's also quite popular, and I also have it, and it was also one of the 7 that I spoke about. And yes, my favorite, Signia Itrix 4th Industrial Revolution. So we can't base our investment on popularity and current statistics that show us how it's performing right now. So what else can we use? So there's something called the fund fact sheet, which is also known as the minimum disclosure document. So the minimum disclosure document is essentially a document that will tell you the investment objective. So what is Satrix trying to achieve with this particular investment, with this ETF? And the ETF that we're talking about is the MSI World Equity Feeder ETF. Each and every ETF or any investment that you get into should have a minimum disclosure document, also known as the fund fact sheet or the MMD, where you should get an idea or sense as to what is it invested in. Yeah. So for example, with this ETF, it shows us the top 10 underlying portfolio in this particular ETF. And as you can see, these are companies that we are very familiar with: Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Facebook. I think Alphabet is part of Google. I don't know, I'm not sure. Johnson & Johnson, Nestle, Visa. And it also shows you sector exposure. Do not let these terms scare you away, okay? So let's look at sector exposure, right? Can you see that there's a high concentration here on information technology? Like the world, guys, the world is all about information technology. Technology is where the money is coming from. So the fact that this ETF has a high concentration, sector concentration in information technology, for me, that already tells me that, okay, yeah, healthcare, financials, communication, consumer staples, utilities, real estate, energy, and all of that, right? So that's giving us an idea. And if there's anything that you don't understand, copy and paste onto Google, put a Google search and get an idea of what that term means. But give yourself like time to understand fund fact sheets, and we can do this together again in a separate video. But what I like about how Satrix structures their fund fact sheets, and I think maybe other ETF providers do the same thing, is that they right at the bottom there's a glossary. I'm using this word glossary where they give you the definition of some of the words that are used, or some of the terms that are used here, so that you can understand them a bit better, right? So even though maybe the glossary terms maybe might still be bombastic, give it a Google search. Just try so that you can understand. But I think when you get a sense of like the top 10 underlying companies or securities actually just means like shares and equity. And you also like know more or less what's the sector exposure, and you look at like the performance of this particular fund. It will give you an idea of like, okay, what am I getting myself into with this investment? So that's what I did with all these ETFs that I speak of, and in the description box I will leave the links for you to have a look at the fun fact sheets for each and every one of them before you make your own decision. So looking at my favorite, the Sygnia Itrix 4th Industrial Revolution Global Equity ETF. Let's look at the top 10 holdings, of which a lot of companies that I don't know are on the list. And all I need to do, once again, Google search the name of the company and see what they're all about. But I know Tesla and Zoom. I think I know Sunrun too. So let's have a look at sector allocation. Oh, look. Ta-da! Information technology. I see this is what's making this ETF money, yeah? Industrials, healthcare as well. All these other ones I also don't really know. I'm not sure. But I'm also going to give it a Google search. But I've chosen, okay? You can also make your own choice. No one can tell you what to invest in. I will be adding other useful links as well in the description box. Be sure to check it out.
Anyway, guys, start today. Start now. Any amount that you have, start with that. Start, guys. If you don't know anything, ask. If there's something that's not clear, ask. Search on the internet. There are people that are willing to help. DM a girl, but start and just watch the money grow and leave it in there and be like, you know what? When you get to the age of 55, you're like, yeah, this is the best gift I could have ever given myself, right? So thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share the video with your friends and family or anyone that you feel it will benefit. Have financial conversations within your circle of friends and family, and keep investing. Let's change the story about finances in our generation and for the generation that's to come, right? Na cancer. Goodbye.